welcome to Tankfest 2017 here at the Tank Museum in Bovington, England. We are very proud to be sponsoring the 15th iteration of this wonderful celebration of tanks and the biggest display of historic armament in the world. We have an action-packed schedule for you here at the World of Tanks booth. We are surrounded by people already. It's very exciting. Everything from Q&A to one-on-one challenges, contests, everything you can think of, it's here. So let's have a look at what is happening today for you at home. Right after the introduction, Thaine and Slava Makarov, along with my colleague Zoltan, will be talking about the state of the game, and we will be answering some of your questions that we will also be taking from you guys here at Tankfest and from Facebook. So be sure to leave a comment if you have a question, and we will try to answer for you. Okay, afterwards, at 12:30 we have an explosive 3 versus 3 action in our Tankfest tournament, so be sure to tune in at twitch.tv WGL _EN. Yes, EN, sorry guys. Right after that, at 3:30, we're gonna go to the Tankfest arena with Zoltan and Rita, and we're gonna check out some historic armor. At 5, we have a World of Tanks contributor interview. So be sure to stay tuned if you want to know more about your favorite World of Tanks contributors and what they're up to, what they've been doing, and maybe if they have plans for the future. On Sunday, the action will keep coming. So at noon tomorrow, the World of Tanks panel with Thaine and the contributors will be taking place here on the stage. So be sure to stay tuned again and to check out what the contributors have to ask about the game. At 3 p.m. we have another interview with the World of Tanks console contributors. We will also talk to them about what they've been up to and what's been going on and if they have any plans for the future. At 3:30 we have an amazing mock-up battle. Be sure to stay tuned because it's Normandy 44. We're gonna see tanks live. It's gonna be exciting. So be sure to keep an eye on the Facebook page. All right, aside from all the stage activities, you can also participate in some of our contests, like #DirtyTankPics. Take a dirty tank picture or a picture with a dirty tank and share it with the hashtag #DirtyTankPics. We will give you prizes for the best submission. We have also a Tiger 131 Safari contest. It's a very simple contest. You just have to sign up on the portal, meet a 131 Tiger in game and win a battle, and you get a chance to win some amazing stuff. As you can see, there is plenty to do and plenty to see here at Tankfest. Stay tuned, and if you want to find out more and if you want to see our full schedule, go to worldoftanks.eu. I'm gonna give Zoltan the mic now, and enjoy the rest of the presentation, guys, and see you later. Talk to you later.
Hey guys, I'm going to awkwardly climb the stage first. Okay, there you go. And I'm going to join Thaine and Slava here. And I think, hi guys, how are you doing? How are you enjoying Tankfest so far?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a great event so far. We got some time yesterday with our community contributors, spent some time getting to really ask some detailed questions back and forth. That was great. And seeing the line of people already, even from just the beginning here, is really amazing.
Yeah, that is. So guys, I think we want to start with you talking about the game a little bit. And once we are done with that, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. And you guys at home watching us on Facebook can also ask some questions. So if you have some, just write them down in the chat and we are going to ask them from Slava and Thaine.
Sure. So look, I think for us, you know, obviously the big thing here at Bovington is the Tiger collection. You know, this year that's the big event. That's the big live portion of the demo. We've also got the VR version of the Sturm Tiger. That's pretty impressive to see. A chance to really kind of get as up close and personal as you can get inside of that, which is impressive to look at. For ourselves, of course, the big show here is the Tiger 131, the lone active Tiger, right? The thing that moves under its own power still in the world. And we've got that here inside of the game itself as well. I think we have footage of that, don't we? Yep. That we can show?
Well, I think actually we can show it. I'm asking the guys in the back. Can you guys show the video? And it's running, I think, soonish.
Is it?
I'm not sure. Guys, can you give me a heads up?
This
There you
is
go.
the Tiger 131, a vehicle from the 504th Tank Regiment, an Africa Corps tank, a trophy of the 48th Royal Tank Regiment. Winston Churchill and King George VI personally came to inspect it. It is the only Tiger in the world that is still operational. The pride and joy of the Tank Museum in Bovington. Now in World of Tanks.
Okay, so this is the Tiger 131. We actually are also giving this tank away, as far as I know. So if you guys are playing in one of our PCs and you get enough kills, you actually can get the Tiger here at Bovington.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So not only can people get it out in the world, but if they're here, they can win it.
Exactly. So, I think we can also start asking the questions, right?
Sure. Yeah. Look, myself, Slava, we're here. We're ready for anything you guys can bring.
Okay,
So.
awesome. So once again, guys, if you are at home and you want to ask questions, write them in the chat, and we are going to ask them later. So first of all, I'm going to ask a question about premium tanks, because obviously that's a hot topic right now. We have released a couple of premium tanks that are really cool, but people found that they might be on the stronger side compared to maybe the previous tanks. So what's the thought process behind that? Can you talk about that?
Go for it.
Premium tanks, you mean, first of all, I think, Defender and
Yeah.
Chrysler?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. The recent ones. That's what you're.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The newer
Yeah.
premium tanks.
Okay, so when we start to design Defender and Chrysler, idea was not about only them. At the same time, we started to redesign mouse line, and our target was, and Japan line, by the way, and our target was to return armor to game, and it was one of big point of critics for World of Tanks in all community. I have a tank, heavy tank, and by idea this tank is well protected, but in reality anyone penetrated, and we tried to present tanks which are really heavy protected. Problem was that after all years of changes and growing penetration on tier 10 and all these changes which completely rebuilt all balance in World of Tanks, after all these changes we cannot predict how good armor can be, because feeling was okay, we can add armor and it makes tank a little bit more protected, but don't destroy everything. And I think with Defender we really a little bit overpowered this tank.
Sure.
And by this reason we stopped sales and didn't plan to sell this tank at least before meta game and balance in game will be changed.
Yeah.
We have examples of that with change of meta games, some overpowered tank like Type 50-59 became normal, maybe underpowered sometimes.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, right, as Slav is saying, the value of armor, the actual ability for there to be things that weren't pennable, right, had been one of the things that had fallen away in the game. So when you introduce a number of changes, I mean, we introduced, like Slav was saying, not just the premiums, but non-premiums, the mouse, the Type 5. Those are big changes, and I think that, certainly the thing that we've learned, right, from seeing the Defender especially, is that, we probably went a little further. Obviously, the mouse and the Type 5 are getting their own minor nerfs now after that.
Yeah, this Chrysler is a little bit different story. Chrysler, and we check it by numbers, are not overpowered. It's hard to find against him in front, but this tank have restrictions. Not super fast, have restricted angles of gun depression and turret on back, and all the stuff make him specific and hard to attack from front, but
From the front.
not overpowered. And I think that it's normal level of power for tier 8. Some of tier 8 regular tank are now under this power, but it's something we want to fix. I think that with changes on tier 10 through all this time, as I told before, this distance of how much power you have on tier 8 and how much power you have on tier 10 becomes too big. And we need to cut this distance a little bit by increasing power of tier 8 and maybe tiers under tier 8. It can take some time because we need to understood phase, stable line, but yeah, we can do it.
Yep. And so in the meanwhile, you know, the Defender isn't something that we have on sale now. It's not something we're going to have on sale until we get some of these other things taken care of.
Yeah.
You know, the mouse is getting its own work. The heavies, the Type 5 heavy is getting its own work. But the premiums, we don't really want to try to touch those, you know, because those are things people have paid for. We don't want to touch those, but at the same time, we're not going to put more of that out. I think the other thing that, you know, is probably a big deal for us in terms of what we've learned, you know, over the last few months on this is we've learned a lot about our testing process for new tanks, and we're going to be making a lot of changes to how we do that going forward. I mean, I think we've seen, you know, there were limitations, right? Super test, common test, a lot of the early production test stuff. We weren't necessarily getting really valid data around how a tank would perform because we tended to get a lot of the best players playing it. And the way that the super elite players play a tank is not the way that regular mortals tend to play that tank, or the effect they have.
Yeah, and okay, some problems we have is speed of changes, because took really valid statistics from a game, we need something like a month. And it means that we sometimes need to add new things before we validate that all things which we add in previous patch were good. So we have, let's imagine that we have 2 months between 2 patches. We deliver one patch and we finalize everything and go to final QA everything in 2 months before we deliver next one. So it means that we have sometimes 1, 2, 3 days to finally get statistics, sit, discuss what to do, are everything okay with previous patch or not, and then add new stuff. And that's all. And we cannot say, okay, we fix it in 2 patch after because players are unhappy. Did it increase a chance of mistake? Yes. And we try to rebuild our process to cut amount of mistakes, but at the same time, we try to increase the speed of changes, which add additional chance to mistake. And we try and somehow balance between these 2 things, because no, right now we start to add new stuff to World of Tanks faster, and we want to do this. We want to move faster, add new stuff faster, deliver new features, new graphics, everything.
I think, the other thing is, obviously, we don't want to be in the situation, in the past, way in the past, right? The premium tanks that had come out, they tended to be inferior, right? Specifically inferior to their non-premium counterparts. And we don't want to be in the situation where somebody pays us a bunch of money, buys a tank, and in exchange for that, we kick them really deeply in the balls. That doesn't really feel fair, right? Yeah. So we now treat non-premium tanks and premium tanks the same. Sometimes we don't hit it exactly right, and I think, certainly what is important for people to hear, what I hope that everybody out there understands, right? We realize that we pushed the envelope too far on some of the recent ones, and we're going to be a lot more cautious on that going forward.
Okay.
At the same time, a lot of the old ones are getting a lot of buffs, right?
Yeah, we buff a list of tanks and have next list to buff and in next months and next patches. Yes, KV5 is in this list.
Okay, actually, this was my next question. So, are we actually doing something with the old premium tanks as well? Because
Yeah,
we have already.
we start doing this, and for some times is easy to up them. You know how to save character of this tank and maybe make this character more contrast and bright. But for some tanks it's a big challenge because you need to fix problems, but don't make this tank overpowered, and it's a challenge.
The other big change, right, is remember a lot of the old premium tanks also had premium matchmaking, right? So the restricted just plus minus one. And so one of the things that we're also looking at is how do we deal with that? If we're making these changes to the older premiums, they had this benefit, right? They were weaker, but they had this other benefit. And so we're working through how we handle that situation to make changes so that that's fairly treated.
Okay. Let's stay a bit on the topic, but also address something that's also a really hot topic in relation to premium tanks. That's premium ammunition. So a lot of players had this concern that with the introduction of the new tanks, it became more important to use premium ammunition. Can you maybe share your thoughts about this?
Premium ammo.
Premium ammo, yeah.
Sorry, for everybody actually out in the stream, it's almost hard to hear. There's so much going on in Tankfest.
The tanks are firing in the background, everything. Okay, so maybe I can just reiterate again. So basically, premium ammo, since a lot of players feel that now that we introduce all this armor
premium
in the game.
ammo, first of all, we're trying to balance premium ammo through game economy. And it works somehow, and what we're discussing now is completely remove gold price of them and say, okay, it's just expensive ammunition, and after this we took possibility to faster change prices, no so much risks, everything works better, and it's what we are discussing now.
Yep. It's an investigation. I mean, obviously, premium ammo, it's been around for a long time. I mean, once upon a time, there wasn't even a way to buy it on silver. And now we've changed that. There's a lot more. I mean, I think the interesting thing is that some of the ideas that the guys have been talking about would give the ability to really make premium more of a choice rather than just uber ammo.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, another question, which was, I guess, a hotter topic back in the day, but let's talk about SPGs, because we have made a lot of changes to SPGs lately. So what do you think about the class right now? How is it performing? Do you still plan any changes in the future?
SPG need additional tuning anyway, but basically okay after all these changes.
Yeah, we've seen, so if you look at the sort of the overall acceptance. The SPG, the stun mechanic has gone over pretty well. There's a lot of little things, you know, a lot of whether it's rate of fire, accuracy, splash damage radius, things like that are all subject to tuning. The other big thing, obviously, that happened when we first put it out was we restricted, because we were being very conservative, and we knew if you had a 3 arty platoon that was going to focus fire on one guy, that was going to be a miserable experience.
Yeah.
So, to be conservative, we removed the ability to platoon with SPGs entirely. Now, we knew that, you know, that some people, you know, platoon with their SPGs, and we knew that there would be some people who were bothered about that, but it was a temporary thing that we were just going to work through and again, be conservative while we found out what the effect of the new SPG was, and then be able to make changes to that. The level of reaction we got to that was actually very high and very negative, and reasonably so, but it even exceeded the number of people who actually usually played SPGs in platoons. But now, we're now restoring the ability to play in a platoon with arty. 1 arty per platoon, though, so it's still, that'll be the balance, right, to make sure that we don't have these, you know, massive death orchestra SPG platoons going in and just focus firing one guy down.
Okay. So I'm going to insert a Facebook question. So it's a bit random.
Great.
But when will we buff the IS-3 and the IS-7?
When do we buff the IS-3 and the IS-7?
We have planned for this in 2 next patches.
Yep. Yeah, in a few. It's not, you know, the next thing out, but I mean, basically there's a long list of tanks that are on the buff list.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, there you have it then. It's coming. Okay, another question. I see this a lot. We recently introduced a new Polish tank in the game, right? So people are asking about the Polish tech tree, the possibility of it, and how is it going to be, if there is going to be one?
So I think and Slava, you can correct me if I'm wrong, right? The question of getting more Polish tanks into the game beyond the premium that we're releasing is a question of when, not if. There are certain things that we have to work through. What we didn't want to do is release a clone line, right? A series of tanks that you can get in other nations, you've played before. When we're adding new tanks into the game, we want you to feel like there's a reason to play this one instead of something else.
Yeah, what we have now, there was some projects which was designed in Poland after World War II. Basically, it was just paperwork, you know, in academies and something like this. But because they was on the same technical levels as Soviet tanks, we see some candidates for tier 10, tier 9, but it's a big challenge. It's not easy to find. We work with Poland archives. If we found all of them, I just press a button and we start to deliver. It's like with Japan heavies. To find all information for prototype they have, we dig through tons of archive papers and collect everything piece by piece, you know. Blueprints of suspension from here, because we don't have, you know, how it looks like by design. And the same story with Polish tanks. We trying to dig information, but you know, it's hard to find, and I cannot guarantee when, but I can guarantee that yes, we tried. Yeah, we want to have at least one from tier 1 to tier tank Polish tank tree.
Okay. Okay, one of my own questions then. Let's talk about matchmaking a bit, because we also changed matchmaking a lot lately.
Yeah, quite a bit.
And I think a lot of people are actually liking it a lot. So what do we think? What are the statistics showing you guys? How is it going?
New matchmaker works good enough. We still try to polish it, especially for servers with low online, where we have sometimes problems. But by design, it was a good idea. Some tuning, yes, we need some tuning, but that's all.
Yeah, I mean, the great part about, to me, the best part about the new matchmaker is now really no matter where you are in the tank tiers, you now have a role, right? You have a purpose in the battle, you know, with only a few top tiers and then more medium and then most tier, you know, at the bottom tier, right? The 357, which is the ideal template that comes up when it can find the, you know, the best match. That means that, you know, even if you're a low tier, you've still got things to do, right? You've got enemies that you can play against. There's not so many high tiers, right? Even 2 tiers up, if you've got a whole bunch of low tiers swarming something that's 2 tiers higher, that high tier thing isn't going to last, right? So the nice thing is you avoid the I've sort of jokingly called them in the past the get a sandwich matches, you know, where you're like, oh great, I'm the one tier 7 light in a match of otherwise all tier 10s.
Yeah, we all experience that.
Yeah, I'm going to go park behind a bush, go get a sandwich, you know, and I'll come back later. So we've avoided that. The other thing, obviously, that's big with the matchmaker change is that with getting the lights all the way to tier 10 now, we don't have to deal with scout matchmaking. So the lights don't have even that 3-tier spread, which they used to have.
Yeah.
So it's worked out pretty well. There's a lot of smaller changes, right, that have been made, especially around trying to make sure that we're very balanced at that top tier on the classes. So you don't have, you know, one team with 3 heavies at the top of the chain, and another team with, you know, 3 TDs or 3 SPGs or something, right? Try to make sure there's great balance. That was a request, certainly. That's something we saw, and a request that came in from the community, and we've been acting on that.
Okay. So basically, small tweaks can still happen, but we are basically happy with what we have achieved with the matchmaking.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like the good thing is now, you know, one of the 3 biggest things, right, that people used to complain about, you know, the SPG and the matchmaker really are 2 of the top things that people would talk about all day. And in one patch, you know, we made pretty significant changes to both of them. And I think overall, I mean, we feel pretty good about that and about where they're going. Again, more work to do, and as Slava said, we need to collect data 30 days, 60 days, 90 days in, because it takes some time. With so many changes like this, it takes some time for the players to really digest it all and to evolve their play style based on these new things. So we'll keep evaluating as we go, right? And if we find that we need to make changes based on the data, based on player feedback, then we will.
Awesome. So something that's also related to matchmaking and all the changes that we did is personal missions, because a lot of players like the personal missions, and they are asking us on the forums everywhere whether we are going to do any changes based on the changes to matchmaking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay, short answer, yes, we plan to change personal mission after check statistics where we have problems.
Yep.
Okay. So we are only changing them, or also adding something new? Can we maybe...
We start doing this anyway, but you know, it's we go from step by step and try to fix all painful places.
Awesome. Okay.
Or maybe places when you go too fast with new matchmaker.
So let's talk about new game modes, because we recently introduced ranked, so maybe let's start with that. A lot of people like ranked a lot, but there were a lot of questions about the rewards, so bonds, improved equipment. Can you guys talk about that a bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think the good thing to start with is, you know, like you said, ranked has been, it's been a real success in terms of player numbers. we've seen significant increases in the number of tier 10s that are playing and the number of battles at tier 10. And that's great because, you know, it used to be that when you'd get a tier 10, you didn't really have a reason to play it, right? I mean, it's super. It's awesome to play because it's fun. It's the top of the chain. But, you know, you're not progressing. There's, you know, it doesn't give you the same sort of, you know, the need, right? You're not filling that need. Now, suddenly there's a reason, right, for people to play their tier 10s. And that was a lot of the goal on starting to get an end game. So that was really good. Your point about rewards, you know, ranked battles is in some ways a separate thing from bonds, right? We introduced them both at the same time, but bonds is its own thing. It's its own new in-game currency. This is the first place you'll get bonds is through ranked battles. But the goal actually for us is that we're going to have bonds available really at all sorts of places so that any player, whether they're the sort of the uber competitor, top of the top end ranked battler or not, will be able to get bonds and buy things off of the bonds list.
Yeah, and with bonds we can finally solve our big problem with events. Before we have a problem, every time when we plan to have some kind of marathon or something, we need to invent new premium tank. We don't have so much candidates sometimes. And right now we can use bonds as some kind of price here, and we're thinking that it can take us bigger possibilities to have something for players which is important, useful, take some time to achieve, and cannot be just green in a game.
Yep. The other great thing is that, you know, with bonds now, we've got a few things that are, you know, that you can buy with them, right? Directives, improved equipment. But the goal is actually to increase the number of things available for sale with bonds as well. There's lots of thinking going on internally. It's too early to talk about all of it yet, but I think what you'll see is that bonds will become a bigger and bigger thing, a bigger and bigger part of the game, and that the variety of stuff that you can get by virtue of earning them through these various activities, all sorts of different activities, will be very wide.
Okay, so basically bonds and ranked battles are two separate entities, and they are using ranked battles to introduce bonds to the game, and we are going to widen the scope, and it's going to be another currency. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's basically, you know, ranked battles, as we said from the beginning, you know, this is the beta season of ranked battles. It's the test. And we were testing everything from the progression curve in ranked battles, how fast is it, you know, that you can go from rank 1 to rank 5. A lot of questions around exactly, you know, questions about exactly how we match, around the economy, around the rewards, as well as then even the rewards themselves. I know there have been a lot of questions about improved equipment as well.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of ideas actually even there around what we do with improved equipment. You know, obviously in ranked battles, I mean, the best of the best of the best players, the absolute super top end players, I think can earn, what, 2 pieces of equipment, right, of improved equipment? So it's very limited, right, in terms of how much can come out of it here. We wanted to get it out into the world. We wanted to see how it worked. We wanted to make sure that the value of improved equipment was enough, right? Not too little, not too much. And we feel pretty good about that right now in terms of where it's headed overall. But we also see that there are things that we want to do to be able to kind of limit where it can be and force you to make real choices so that you treat this improved equipment as something very precious to you, right? That isn't just, you know, something you just lob onto every piece of, onto every tank over time.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, so let's stay on the topic of new game modes, because we have recently tested a couple of new ones on the Sandbox, right? With bigger maps, more tanks. Can you maybe talk about that a bit? Can we expect that to arrive to the games anytime soon?
On game
yes,
modes, yeah.
Yes, we have plans for game modes.
Yeah, no, so the great thing, the 30 on 30 tests have gone over really well.
Yeah. Okay, at least ranked battles goes good, and it was only 1 point for our ideas for players after tier 10 journey, and we work about new stuff. I cannot answer in details now.
Yeah, we aren't yet at the point where we're ready to say exactly when these things are going to come out. But the testing that we've done on Frontline on 30v30 has gone over really well. We've collected a ton of really valuable feedback on everything from the metagame for that. You know, we've got a lot of thoughts around that, to the maps themselves that we used. And I think the good thing is, what it shows, right, is that clearly there's an appetite. The community is interested. The player base is interested in being able to play these big battles. Now, I mean, nothing's ever going to replace 15 on 15 random battles as sort of the, you know, the core, right?
Yeah.
But this is something cool and different that players can play with. So we're working through exactly how we want to get it out, and when we have more detailed plans, when we're closer, right, to being able to release, we'll let everybody know what we'll do with it.
Okay. So about new things, we talked a lot about new HD maps coming to the game. Where do we stand with that? How is that coming?
The HD maps work.
We're working on this.
Yeah. Okay. So soon, right?
Okay. Problem is that for delivering HD maps, we need to completely change technology of our render. And it means we cannot add HD maps one by one, how we did it with HD tanks. Which means that we need to completely rebuild all current maps in the game. And it's a huge, huge, huge work.
Yeah. But the good thing is the core tech work is all really basically done. There's lots of little optimization stuff the guys are doing, you know, low-end system support, things like that that's happening. But the core work is all done, and now it's really the artwork. It's the art job that's happening, the level building. We've shown a lot of examples of that. I think we've shown, 4 or 5 different maps that are out now. I'm really proud of the work the guys are doing. I think it looks great.
Yeah, I think that when some amount of maps will be finalized and ready, we can test them through Sandbox.
Yeah.
And in the same time, not only test but show them to players to be sure that everything works good on all computers, quality is good enough, and we don't damage maps, by the way.
Yeah.
Because it's one of additional challenge. We need to change graphics on map, but didn't touch gameplay. It's sometimes more challengeable than we think.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's important, right? I mean, maps like Himmelsdorf, Malinovka, Prokhorovka, right? You know, favorite maps, you know, that people love. We want them to feel like that map from a gameplay standpoint. We just want them to look better and look cooler, right? And give something new, right? So that the experience can feel fresh for the players, and frankly for new players as well.
Okay. So the bottom line for me is that once we actually have them, we will have all of them at the same time. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. We don't, like Slava said, we can't drip out 1 or 2 and all that, and we wouldn't want to. You know, we want to really be able to say this is the new tanks. When it comes out, it comes out.
Okay. So basically, we have to wait a bit, but once we actually get them, we get all of them. That's awesome.
Yeah, but the work is continuing. This isn't a the old Havoc or something. Like, this is coming.
Okay. Cool. So let's take some Facebook questions. Let's see what I have here. Oh, I see an interesting one. I'm not sure you guys can answer it, but is the TOG 2 going to be sold again?
Say again?
Is the TOG 2 going to be
The
sold
TOG
again?
2. So I mean, I think the answer to that is different region by region, actually.
Yes, I
some
think so.
regions love the TOG, some regions don't.
I love.
Yeah, I think it's a great tank. It's one of our other guys, Paul Barnett, has described it as a collector's tank, and I think it's a great way to describe it. You know, honestly, like whenever you get into a match and there's a TOG, everybody immediately starts kind of laughing. Like, you know, it's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be fun. It's going to be funny. To me, those are the moments that make the game fun, right? Is when it's not just business as usual. You know, the TOG's great for that.
Exactly. It's love its life. It's the TOG 2, right? Okay, another question. It's a bit more serious. When can we expect larger platoons? Can we actually expect larger platoons?
Larger platoons.
It's the same story with new game mods. We're thinking about this, but not directly. I mean, if we just say, okay, now you have platoons of 5, it completely destroys balance of the game. Some specific modes when you can have platoons of 5, yes, maybe.
Okay, so maybe. All right, another question. It's kind of related to new modes, but it's actually about the old one. So are we still going to do some fun modes, like the Chaffee race or the 8-bit mode?
Yeah. I mean, look, fun modes, there's always a place for them. Again, random battles is the meat and potatoes of the game, right? It's the thing everybody keeps coming back to. But you want to have a palate cleanser every so often, right? A change of pace. And the fun modes are great for that. You know, obviously we've done a lot with April 1st. We've done a lot with football in the past. We've got more plans. I mean, even things like the New Year's event. You know, not a mode itself, but you know, something different to give people a different feel. Things like that are really important to us. So I think we'll continue to do it. You know, the one of the questions we've gotten, of course, in the past has been, well, you've got so many of them, why don't you just make them available? Mm-hmm. The challenge is that a lot of those old fun modes were built using the old physics system, using old balance.
Yeah, and sometimes, because, okay, it's fun mode, we don't ready to spend too much resources here, and some fun modes work with hacks, very dirty hacks, which can work in only this specific patch. And for football, for example, we have that kind of hack for physics. And when we say, okay, we want football again, it was like rebuilt it from zero.
Yeah. But the great thing, for us, the great thing about fun modes is that not only are they fun for fans and we enjoy them, but they, you know, from a development standpoint, they fill two other really important goals. Number one, they allow us to experiment with new and interesting features, right? Do fun things, try stuff out, prototype stuff in a light way, and just get audience feedback and see how it works. Number two, frankly, it's also a great chance for the dev team to work on something different for a minute, you know, which, and having that moment where you can do something new and challenge your creativity in a different way means that then when you go back to the base stuff again, you feel a little recharged. So it really, I mean, it's great for the players and it's great for us.
Okay, I personally hope that they are coming back because I enjoy playing them.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so maybe one more question and then we can finish. The question is about the Sandbox. So players are asking whether we are still going to run the Sandbox, we are going to still introduce new features on the Sandbox in the future, and maybe if you can share some of the new stuff that's coming.
So, short answer, yes.
Da.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, so we've definitely seen, you know, the Sandbox has had its limitations. I think one of the things we've seen is that players maybe didn't always play on Sandbox in a way that was representative of the way they would really play in the game. You know, a little bit more, let's say, carefree, right? Because it's not their account, it's not their win rate, they're not worried about time, you know, so they can maybe YOLO a little bit more or things like that. But overall, you know, when you look at what the Sandbox has done for us, we put out so many things last July, so many big ideas, and things that there's no way we could have imagined testing in our traditional process, in our usual super test, common test, and then launch way. And the great thing was, we found some things that people really liked and we wanted to proceed forward with, and some things that people absolutely were not ready for and did not want. And that's exactly the beauty of the Sandbox. That's what it gives you, right? It allows us to try crazy shit, right? Because, I mean, these guys are super creative. They have a lot of really awesome ideas. Not all of them are going to be things people are ready for, but if you don't give them a chance to test them out, you can't find out which of the really awesome, really ambitious ideas are the ones that'll go over.
Yeah, one of big problem we have before was, okay, something was shown on super test, it means almost 100% it will be a game. And it's one of target of Sandbox was completely change this and say, no guys, if you see something, it doesn't mean you see this in a game. Yeah. Because sometimes I described it before a lot of times. First balance which we put on Sandbox was around by design, because we over buffed some specific stats of different tanks or over nerfed it to have clear picture how very contrast classes can work together. And it was pure experiment to find the answer in which direction we can move all balance. But we never ever planned to deliver it to game. But you know, it was a problem on start of Sandbox, because players after all this time start to think, okay, you plan to do it in the game. No. And Sandbox stay in the same position. If we bring 45 versus 45, it doesn't mean 100% we do it in a game. But at least we check possibility of support so much times in a game. We took a lot of feedback, found a lot of technical problems, and yes, we potentially can deliver some kind of more than 15 versus 15 as separate mode or somehow else, or maybe for clan wars, or maybe here, and we can decide where we go only after we test it with some amount of real players.
Yeah. I think the other thing that'll happen is, you know, the Sandbox, frankly, will just be something where we can expand the player base, right? Make sure that it's something where we're getting a real diversity of viewpoints, so that we're getting, you know, a variety of players in terms of regions, in terms of skill levels, battle counts, style of play. You know, because the more we can collect, right, the more data we get, the more disparate sort of sources, the better off we're going to be in terms of being able to understand how it'll affect the whole player base.
Okay, cool. So guys, I think it's time for us to wrap up the stream. So
okay,
thank you very much for participating and all the information. And you guys at home, thanks for watching us, and stay tuned because we are going to have some more stuff coming, and a lot more actually.
Thanks for staying with us, and thanks for playing with us.
See you guys.